Shalom, all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elder of the great Millstone, B'Shem Rachakadash. My name is Jacobo from Plaintables camp. And you have, it is a spirit out there. It didn't just start with the 2 Genesis guys, that you don't rebuke other people or other groups when you see them going off or things need to be corrected. You just leave it alone and be concerned about yourself. That's not actually biblical. The scriptures clearly tell you that we're supposed to rebuke, all right, and correct. All right, so this is Proverbs 27:5. It says, open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. All right, so if you've wounded by, a brother, meaning verbally get correction, that's a good thing. And you work it out, whatever it is. All right, open rebuke. All right, so if that spirit of don't correct, stay out of it, and we're professionals, we're prophets. All right, so we're not supposed to be sitting on the sidelines. We're supposed to be in the forefront. All right, this is Timothy, 2 Timothy 4:2. No, that's the third one. Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, because when you don't correct somebody, that actually proves that you dislike them or hate them. All right, sometimes the words are used interchangeably, but when you don't reprove someone, okay, you pretty much just reprove or rebuke someone, you pretty much just wrote them off. Like, it's no hope. Like, it's certain, like, people of our nation, we'll rebuke them, but we'll say, okay, this conversation is going to be very short. Like the Edomite Christians, we wrote them off. They can't be saved anyway. The conversation is going to be very short, limited, because we know, like, we already believe in our mind, okay, these people ain't going to get it. So we're going to rebuke 1 or 2 times, and if we see ain't getting it, we just move on. Because we wrote them off. We got to a point where we did the rebuking, we did the reproving. What says a heretic after the first and second admonition reject. So we move on. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So a brother will give a certain amount of times to correct himself, and then we'll move on. All right. But if we see it constantly recurring and we know it's going to affect the flock, we'll bring it back up again. Not that the person is going to convert and be healed, but just so for edification of the congregation. All right. Just because you're constantly rebuking somebody, it doesn't mean that they're going to convert to what you believe in. It just means we got to keep the congregation, the flock, up to date on the demonic doctrine going out. All right. So that was Leviticus 19:17. And not suffer sin upon him. Yeah, because it's our duty as prophets to take care of our brother. All right. But look, if they can't get it, hey, then the scriptures tell you we got to move on after a certain point. All right. This is 2 Timothy 4:2. Preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. So we're definitely supposed to be on the forefront of making corrections. All right, not letting things fall by the wayside. If it's important, sometimes you got some nonsense out there, we can just gloss over that. But you got like strongholds, doctrines like the Gentiles, forgiveness of sins, salvation, the mark of the beast, which is the microchip. All right, the 7 heads and 10 horns, Daniel, the image, who are the Romans, the original. These are strongholds that the world believes different things. All right, so we have to constantly bring those strongholds, fight against those strongholds by what? We're going into the Bible and rebuking and providing exhortation for the congregation, those that are within and those that are without. All right, so they know what the truth is. So there's no excuse, because our main job is to be prophets. All right, meaning to say before something happens, teachers, all right, evangelists, all right, and to exhort, meaning to call brothers that are not in the flock to your side. All right, to make them believe what you believe in. All right, but there's a point in which we just leave them alone. But when the subject comes up, if we believe it's important, we'll go into it. All right, but that person may be already condemned. All right, but we don't know. All right, that's up to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And through preaching that person may be converted, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen. All right. So that was 2 Timothy, 4th chapter. It is Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 19:13. Admonish a friend, it may be he hath not done it, and if he have done it, that he do it no more. All right. Sirach 19:13. Yeah, so you're correcting. We're issuing corrections, because the point is to be vessels fit for the master's use, so we can be delivered, right, in that day. So when that day comes, we'll meet a prerequisites, certain minimal requirements. All right, so we can be vessels fit for use. All right, and that's our job. So we've been given the tools, so it's our job to give you those tools. All right. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6:1. Hear therefore, all you kings, and understand. Learn ye that be judges of the ends of the earth, because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright. Terrible and sudden shall he come upon you. So in general, I'm using this scripture in general. When you're in a position of having a certain amount of knowledge, it's your responsibility to teach that knowledge. All right. Now Esau, Edom, the other nations, they have chosen to side with Esau, to side with they really is from on high, but they're guilty. That's a conundrum you're in. They're guilty of hiding knowledge, not telling the world, telling the Israelites who we are. All right, and they're not supposed to, but they're in a conundrum, so they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it in slavery. All right, and they will be in. Is the proper definition chattel slavery? I don't know. I have to look it up. But they're going to have, they're going to have chains around their neck. It's going to be different severities of captivity for the nations, for their wickedness. All right, it's like it was different severities of captivity for us, for our wickedness. Different tribes suffered the same thing, but there's varying degrees, in varying locations. All right. All right. Wisdom of Solomon. Okay, so that was the last one, I believe. Yeah, so that was the last one. So our main duty is to raise up the tribes of Israel. All right, the tribes of Israel are so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, and our people scattered throughout the world. We do that via the internet. All right, so if we're not doing that, we can't call ourselves men of the Lord. Our responsibility is to raise up the tribes of Israel. And if we're raising up the tribes of Israel, there's going to be different forces that are going to be working against us, and we're going to have to fight those forces with the Bible, with the scriptures. All right. So if somebody's going off, we got to correct it. All right. We just don't just teach. Oh, just teach. No, you got to teach, and you have to rebuke and correct. All right. So hope you edified. Shalom.